We'd like to offer you $800 a month. Victoria Sutton's fingers, weighed down with diamonds, tapped against the white tablecloth. Tap, tap, tap. In exchange, you give Daniel and Jessica their space. Stop calling so often. Let them build their life without... She paused, her smile sharp as glass. Without constant worry about your situation. Catherine Hayes sat perfectly still. Wrinkled gray dress, scuffed shoes, canvas bag with the broken zipper sitting in her lap like a shield. She looked exactly like what they thought she was. Poor, simple, desperate. What Victoria Sutton didn't know, what none of them sitting at this table in Belmore's most expensive dining room knew, was that the woman they were trying to pay off earned $45,000 a month. And Catherine was about to burn their world down. Before we get into what happened next, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button right now. This story gets wild, and you're going to want to see how it ends. Also, drop a comment and tell me what city you're watching from. I love seeing how far these stories travel. Now let's go back to where this all started. Mom, I need to ask you a favor. Catherine had been staring at her computer screen when Daniel called. Contract terms, revenue projections, the usual 42nd floor problems. Of course, sweetheart. She pulled her reading glasses off, tossed them on the desk. What's going on? Silence. Not the comfortable kind, the weighted kind. Daniel, Jessica's parents are visiting. The words came out fast. Too fast. From California. First time meeting you. We're doing dinner Saturday at Belmore's and I... He stopped. Catherine waited. I need you to come. Okay. She pulled up her calendar. Saturday was clear. 7 o'clock. Yeah. 7. Another pause. Mom, I should tell you something. Her assistant knocked, pointed at her watch. Meeting in 5. Tell me what? They don't know much about you. I told them you work in an office. That you live modestly, that you're... He swallowed loud enough she heard it through the phone. That you're simple, nothing fancy, just normal. Simple. Catherine's pen stopped mid-signature. Simple, she repeated. I didn't mean it like I just meant you're not flashy. You're practical. Mom, please don't be mad. She wasn't mad. She was thinking. I'm not mad, Daniel. I'll be there Saturday. 7 o'clock. Thank you. Really. This means thank you. After they hung up, Catherine sat motionless for 3 full minutes. Her assistant knocked again, mouthed meeting through the glass. Catherine held up one finger. She pulled up her banking app, checked 3 accounts, looked at numbers she rarely thought about because money stopped mattering somewhere around the 3rd million. Then she opened her calendar and blocked out Saturday evening. Not for a family dinner, for reconnaissance. Catherine stood in front of her closet in yoga pants and a sports bra, staring at 20 years of deliberate choices. Left side work clothes, tailored suits, designer labels she never mentioned. The armor she wore to command rooms full of men who thought they were smarter than her. Right side, regular clothes, jeans, simple tops, nothing that screamed, I make more in a month than your annual salary. Far right, the donation bag she kept meaning to drop off. She pulled the bag out, dug through it, found a gray dress she'd bought at a discount store 10 years ago. Shapeless, wrinkled, the kind of dress that made you invisible. Perfect. She held it up to her body, looked at herself in the mirror. Regional Vice President Catherine Hayes disappeared. Poor, struggling Catherine emerged. She put the dress on, found shoes with worn heels in the back of her closet, grabbed the canvas tote bag she used for groceries, the one with the broken zipper and coffee stains. No jewelry, no watch, no makeup beyond the bare minimum. Hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. She looked at herself one more time. 58 years old, tired, defeated by life. Someone, people looked through not at, her phone buzzed. Daniel. Can't wait to see you tonight, Mom. Love you. Catherine's jaw tightened. She typed back, love you too, sweetheart. Then she called a regular taxi. Not the car service she normally used. Not the corporate account. A regular yellow cab. The taxi pulled up to Belmore's. Catherine had closed 3 major deals here. The sommelier knew her by name. The head chef once sent out a complimentary appetizer when she brought in the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. But tonight, she shuffled through the door like she'd never been here before. The maitre d' looked at her. His professional smile flickered. Reservation. His tone had shifted. Subtle, but there. Hayes party. I'm Daniel Hayes' mother. His eyebrows went up. Of course. Right this way. She followed him through the dining room, caught her reflection in the mirrors lining the walls, barely recognized herself. Good. Then she saw them. Daniel stood up so fast his chair rocked backward. Mom. One word. But his face said everything. His eyes went wide. His mouth opened slightly. His cheeks flushed red. Not with happiness. With shame. Catherine felt that look in her chest. Physical pain. Her son was embarrassed by her. Hi, honey. She kept her voice soft. Small. Sorry if I'm late. The taxi took a while. You're not late. You're... He glanced at his wife. You're perfect. Jessica turned around. 29 years old. Cream-colored designer dress Catherine recognized from last season's Chanel collection. Hair that had spent 3 hours in a salon. Makeup applied by someone who charged $200 an hour. Jessica's smile froze on her face. Mother Catherine. She leaned in for an air kiss that landed somewhere near Catherine's ear. So good to see you. Her eyes said, What are you wearing? Her grip on Catherine's arm said, Why didn't you try harder? Her voice said, You're embarrassing us. These are my parents. Jessica's voice had gone up half an octave. Victoria and Richard Sutton. Victoria Sutton looked up from her wine glass. She was wearing emeralds. Real ones. Catherine had negotiated a deal with a jewelry company once she knew the difference between cubic zirconia and the real thing. Those were real. Probably $60,000 around her neck. Victoria's eyes traveled from Catherine's face to her shoes. 2 seconds. That's all it took. Complete assessment. Total judgment. Final verdict. Worthless. Catherine. Victoria extended her hand without standing. Limp fingers. No warmth. What a pleasure. Her tone added, to finally meet the poor relation. Richard Sutton gave Catherine the same treatment. Weak handshake, false smile, eyes already dismissing her. Charmed. And the word had no charm in it whatsoever. Catherine took the chair at the far end of the table, the one no one pulled out for her, the one that put maximum distance between her and the Suttons. Daniel sat down next to her, wouldn't look at her. Jessica kept adjusting her napkin, folding it, unfolding it, refolding it. Victoria took a sip of wine and smiled. So lovely you could join us, Catherine. The performance had begun. The waiter appeared. Young guy, probably working his way through college. He handed out menus, leather-bound, heavy, French words in gold script. Catherine opened hers, squinted at it, made her face confused. I'm not sure. She tilted the menu. What is this? Victoria's smile widened. Oh, you've never eaten French cuisine. Not really. I don't. Catherine touched the words like they might bite her. What does this mean? Victoria exchanged a look with Richard. There it was. The look that said, I knew it. Don't worry. And Victoria's voice dripped with honey. Poisoned honey. I'll order for you. Something simple. You'll like it. She waved at the waiter without asking Catherine what she wanted. She'll have the chicken. Plain preparation. And water. Victoria paused. Tap water. The waiter wrote it down. And for you, ma'am, the Wagyu, medium rare, and another glass of the Bordeaux. Richard ordered the same. Jessica got the sea bass. Daniel got the ribeye. Catherine got the cheapest thing on the menu and tap water. The waiter disappeared. I hope you don't mind that I ordered for you, Victoria said. These menus can be overwhelming if you're not familiar with fine dining. Thank you. Catherine made herself sound grateful. That's very kind. Jessica's leg was bouncing under the table. Catherine felt the vibration through the floor. Daniel was gripping his knife so hard his knuckles had gone white, but neither said anything. Victoria set down her wine glass. So, Catherine, Daniel mentioned you work in an office? Yes. Catherine folded her hands in her lap. Downtown. What kind of work? Administrative? Filing? Scheduling? Answering phones. She added a small, self-deprecating laugh. Nothing exciting. Victoria nodded slowly, like she was a therapist receiving vital information. Administrative work. That's very... She searched for the word. Steady. Steady. Code for dead-end job. No ambition. No success. Richard leaned forward. How long have you been in that position? About 20 years. His eyebrows went up. The same position for 20 years. I'm not very ambitious, I guess. Catherine shrugged. I just do my work and go home. Richard sat back, looked at Victoria. The look said, this explains everything. There's nothing wrong with that, Victoria said. Her voice had taken on that careful, sympathetic tone people use when they're pretending to care. Not everyone has the drive to climb the corporate ladder. Some people are just meant for supporting roles. Supporting roles. As if Catherine were an extra in someone else's movie. I think it's admirable, Victoria continued, when people accept their limitations, when they find contentment in simplicity. Accept their limitations. Find contentment in simplicity. Each phrase was a tiny knife, precise, surgical. Daniel's jaw was clenched so tight, Catherine heard his teeth grinding. Jessica had stopped bouncing her leg. Now she was perfectly still, frozen. But neither said anything. Neither defended her. The waiter brought their meals. Victoria's Wagyu looked like art on a plate, perfectly seared, garnished with gold leaf, actual gold. This is $180, Victoria announced to the table. To Catherine. But when you understand quality, you understand that some things are worth the investment. She cut into the meat, took a bite, closed her eyes in exaggerated pleasure. Perfection. Richard, try yours. Richard did the same performance. Exquisite. Jessica picked at her fish. Daniel hadn't touched his food. Catherine's chicken sat in front of her. Plain. Simple. The cheapest item on the menu. $65. Most people's weekly grocery budget. But in this room at this table, it was the poor person's meal. How's your chicken? Victoria asked. Very good. Thank you. I'm glad. Victoria took another sip of wine. This Bordeaux is $200 a bottle. Would you like to try a sip to experience something outside your usual range? Outside your usual range. No, thank you. I'm fine with water. Victoria smiled. Of course. Water is perfectly adequate. Adequate. That word hung in the air like smoke. Richard's phone buzzed. He checked it. Salt. Excellent news. The San Diego deal closed. $3.2 million profit. He said it loud enough that nearby tables turned. Wonderful, Victoria beamed. We should celebrate. Perhaps that property in Aspen we were looking at, I think we've earned it. They were performing, displaying, making absolutely certain everyone, especially Catherine, understood their worth. We just returned from Italy, Victoria said, turning to Catherine. 2 weeks at our villa in Tuscany. You own a villa. Catherine made her eyes wide. Impressed. 3 properties in Europe, actually. Richard pulled out his phone, started scrolling through photos. The villa, a flat in London, and our chalet in the Swiss Alps. He showed Catherine the pictures. She looked at them, made appreciative noises. Inside, she was calculating the property values, the maintenance costs, the tax implications. Those properties were expensive to maintain, very expensive, which meant the Suttons had cash flow. But did they have real wealth, or were they leveraged to the limit, spending everything to maintain appearances? We've been to 48 countries, Victoria continued. We believe strongly in cultural education. That's amazing, Catherine said. I've never left the country. Victoria's hand flew to her chest. Never. Oh, Catherine. That's so. She paused. Unfortunate. Everyone should experience international travel at least once. Unfortunate. Translation. You're too poor to travel. How sad. Do you have any hobbies? Victoria asked. Things you enjoy. I watch television. Cook simple meals. Sometimes I walk in the park. Silence. Victoria and Richard exchanged another look. This one said, even worse than we thought. Simple pleasures, Victoria finally said. There's nothing wrong with that. although one always hopes to expand one's horizons, to grow. But I understand not everyone has those opportunities. Not everyone has those opportunities. The subtext was deafening. Richard pushed his empty plate away, leaned back, put his hands behind his head, the posture of a man who owned the world. Catherine, I want to tell you something. I started with nothing. Absolutely nothing. My family lived in a trailer. We ate government cheese. I wore hand-me-downs until they fell apart. He paused for effect. But I refused to accept that as my destiny. I worked 3 jobs through college. Started my first business with $500. Built it from the ground up. It took vision, drive, relentless determination. His eyes fixed on Catherine. That's what separates people who succeed from people who don't. It's not luck. It's not circumstances. It's character. It's refusing to accept limitations. The implication was clear as crystal. Catherine was poor because she lacked character, because she'd accepted limitations, because she didn't have what it took to succeed. Daniel stood up suddenly. His chair scraped loudly against the floor. I need to use the restroom. He walked away. Fast. Jessica watched him go. Bit her lip. Daniel's always been sensitive, Victoria said. Even as a child, Jessica told us he gets emotional easily. He has a good heart, Catherine said quietly. Of course, Victoria smiled. That's why we're so glad Jessica found him. He's very, she searched for the word, earnest. Earnest. Code for simple. Unsophisticated. Not quite our class. The waiter brought dessert menus. Victoria ordered without looking at hers. The chocolate souffle with gold leaf, and another glass of wine. Richard ordered the same. Jessica shook her head. Nothing for me. Catherine, Victoria asked, would you like something sweet? I'm quite full. Are you sure the tiramisu is only $22? Victoria's voice was filled with false generosity. Happily, only $22. This is spending $22, Catherine. What happens when your kindness? No, truly. I'm fine. If you're sure. Victoria turned to the waiter. Just the 2 souffles, then. When the desserts arrived, they came with sparklers. Actual sparklers, shooting gold flames. Victoria took a photo, posted it immediately. See these gold flakes? She pointed at her dessert. Real gold. Edible gold. It's a detail only the finest restaurants offer. She took a bite, made a sound of pleasure, worth every penny. Catherine watched, absorbed every moment, filed away every comment, built her case, evidence by evidence. Daniel came back from the restroom. His eyes were red. He'd been crying. He sat down, wouldn't look at anyone. Jessica reached for his hand under the table. He pulled away. Victoria noticed. Her eyes narrowed. Daniel, are you feeling all right? Fine. His voice was flat. I'm fine. You look upset. I said I'm fine. Tension crackled across the table. Richard cleared his throat. Perhaps we should discuss something important, since we're all here. All family. Victoria straightened. Yes, Richard and I have been talking. Here it comes, Catherine thought. Daniel is our son-in-law now, Victoria began. We love him very much. We respect Jessica's choice. But as parents, we want what's best for our daughter. Daniel's head snapped up. What are you doing? Let me finish. Victoria's voice had gone hard. This is important. She turned to Catherine. Catherine, I understand you did your best raising Daniel alone. I respect that. But he's at a different stage now. He has a wife, responsibilities, a life he's trying to build. Mom, stop. Daniel's voice was shaking. Daniel, let me speak. No. Whatever you're about to say, don't. Victoria ignored him, kept her eyes on Catherine. We understand your financial situation is difficult, that Daniel worries about you, that he feels obligated to support you, which is admirable, but we don't want that obligation to create stress in his marriage. Catherine sat perfectly still. What are you saying, Victoria? I'm saying we'd like to help. We're in a position to offer you some financial assistance, a monthly allowance that would ease your burden and ease Daniel's worry. How much? Victoria glanced at Richard. $800 a month. The number landed on the table like a bomb. $800, Catherine repeated. It's not a fortune, obviously, but it should help with rent, groceries, basic expenses. And in exchange, Victoria's smile was thin, sharp. In exchange, we'd simply ask that you give Daniel and Jessica their space. Don't call quite so often. Let them come to you. Give them the freedom to build their life without feeling constantly worried about your situation. Daniel pushed his chair back. This is unbelievable. This is... Daniel, sit down. Richard's voice cut like a whip. No, I'm not sitting down while you were trying to help your mother, Victoria said. And you, and your marriage. If you can't see that, help. Daniel laughed. It wasn't a happy sound. You're trying to pay my mother to disappear. We're offering her security, Richard said. Something she clearly doesn't have. Jessica was crying silently. Catherine looked at her son, looked at his wife, looked at Victoria and Richard, and made her decision. She picked up her napkin, wiped her lips slowly, took a sip of water. Let the silence grow. Let the anticipation build. When she finally spoke, her voice was completely different. No longer soft, no longer meek, no longer small, firm, clear, cold. The voice of a woman who'd spent 20 years commanding rooms full of men who underestimated her. That's a very interesting offer, Victoria. Victoria's face lit up. I'm so glad I have some questions first. Of course. Ask whatever. $800 a month. For me to stop being an inconvenience to your daughter. Do I have that right? Victoria's smile faltered. I wouldn't phrase it. How would you phrase it? Silence. Because from where I'm sitting, Catherine continued, her voice ice cold. You just offered me money to stop being Daniel's mother, to disappear from his life, to make your daughter more comfortable. We're trying to help. Help. Catherine let the words sit there. Tell me, Victoria, how much did your dress cost? Victoria blinked. I don't see how much I've spent. $5,000. But, and your necklace? Catherine, this isn't how much. Victoria's face was reddening. $60,000. But that's not. So you're wearing $65,000 around your neck, and you offer me $800 a month. I'm just trying to understand the math. The entire table had gone silent. The diners were starting to notice. We watched Richard. How much did it cost? 10 more deliveries. It's not relevant. 8,000. Catherine said. This is absolutely mindless. I recognize it. She leaned forward. So let me get this straight. You're wearing $80,000 on your wrist. Your wife is wearing $60,000 around her neck. You spent $300 on dinner. You own 3 properties in Europe. You've been to 48 countries. And you think $800 a month is an adequate amount to pay me to disappear from my son's life. Victoria opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. No words came out. Let me tell you something about money, Victoria. Catherine's voice had dropped, gone quiet, dangerous. You've spent this entire evening making sure I knew how wealthy you are. Every comment about property values, every mention of expensive meals, every reference to designer clothes and international travel, all of it designed to make me feel small, to put me in my place, to establish the hierarchy. She paused. But here's what you didn't know. Catherine reached into her shabby canvas bag, pulled out her phone, opened her banking app, turned the screen toward Victoria. This is my checking account, the one I use for daily expenses. The balance read $127, $438. Victoria's eyes went wide. This is my savings account. $892, $750. Richard leaned forward, squinting at the screen. And these are my investment accounts. Total portfolio value, $8,347, $229. The silence that followed was absolute. Daniel's fork clattered onto his plate. Jessica's hand flew to her mouth. Richard's face had gone pale. And Victoria looked like she'd been slapped. $8 million, Catherine said calmly. Give or take, not counting my 401k. not counting my pension, not counting the value of my stock options. She put her phone away. Now let me tell you what I actually do for a living, Victoria, since you were so interested in my administrative work. She pulled out her business card, slid it across the table. Catherine Hayes, Regional Vice President, Operations, Global Tech Corporation. Victoria picked it up with shaking fingers. I've been with Global Tech for 22 years, Catherine said. I started as a receptionist, worked my way up to executive assistant, then junior analyst, then coordinator, manager, director, senior director, vice president, and now regional VP. She looked directly at Victoria. I oversee operations for 7 countries in North and South America. I manage operational budgets exceeding $500 million annually. I supervise 15,000 employees. I negotiate contracts worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and I earn $45,000 per month. The words landed like bombs. 45,000, Catherine repeated. Every month for the past 20 years. That's nearly $12 million in gross salary, not counting bonuses, not counting stock options, not counting investment returns. Daniel was staring at her, mouth open. Jessica had gone completely still. Richard looked like he might be sick. And Victoria. Victoria looked destroyed. So when you offered me $800 a month, Catherine continued, her voice deadly quiet. I have to admit I found it amusing. I make more than that in about 3 hours of work. Your generous offer amounts to roughly 1.8% of my monthly income. She picked up her water glass, took a sip. But it wasn't the amount that bothered me, Victoria. It was the assumption, the absolute certainty that because I dress simply and live modestly, I must be poor, must be desperate, must be grateful for your scraps. Victoria's hands were shaking. I didn't. You did. Catherine's voice was still. You spent 2 hours humiliating me. Every comment about your properties, every mention of your expensive meals, every word about my simple life, all of it designed to make me feel worthless. She stood up. Everyone at the table flinched. Let me tell you what real wealth looks like, Victoria. Real wealth doesn't announce itself, doesn't need to prove anything, doesn't measure people by their bank accounts. She picked up her shabby canvas bag. Real wealth is having enough that you never think about it. Real wealth is security without display. Real wealth is knowing your value has nothing to do with your net worth. Catherine looked at her son. Daniel, we need to talk, but not here. Then she looked at Victoria and Richard. As for your offer, I'll give you a counter offer. I will give you $1 million right now if you can show me one time, just one time, when you treated someone kindly who had nothing to offer you in return, when you showed compassion to someone you thought was beneath you. Victoria opened her mouth, closed it, couldn't answer. That's what I thought, Catherine said. She turned to walk away, then stopped, turned back. Oh, and Victoria, one more thing. Victoria looked up, her face streaked with tears of humiliation. You said you speak 4 languages. You mentioned it as proof of your sophistication. So tell me, in which of those 4 languages did you learn to be kind? Victoria stared at her. Because from where I'm standing, you can speak 100 languages and still have nothing worth saying. Catherine walked toward the exit, her worn-out shoes clicking against the floor, her shabby dress somehow looking like armor. Behind her, the Suttons sat in destroyed silence, and ahead of her, Daniel was following, finally standing up, finally choosing. The maitre d' opened the door. Have a wonderful evening, Ms. Hayes. He knew her name. Of course he did. She'd been here dozens of times, just never dressed like this. Catherine stepped out into the night air, and for the first time in 3 days, she could breathe. The night air hit Catherine's face like cold water. She kept walking, didn't look back. Behind her footsteps, fast. Mom! Mom, wait! Daniel grabbed her arm, spun her around. His face was red, eyes wet, voice breaking. Why didn't you tell me? Catherine pulled her arm free, gently. Tell you what, don't. He shook his head. Don't do that. Don't act like $45,000 a month, $8 million in the bank, regional vice president. His voice was getting louder. People walking past were staring. You let me think. He stopped. Started again. I told them you were simple. I told them you were Jesus Christ. Mom, I was embarrassed by you. I know. You knew. His voice cracked completely. You knew, and you came anyway. Dressed like that, let them treat you like what? Catherine's voice was calm. Too calm. Like someone poor. Someone beneath them. Someone not worth basic human decency. Daniel's mouth opened. Closed. I needed to know, Catherine said. I needed to see how they treat someone they thought had nothing. And now I know. But why? Daniel's hands were shaking. Why hide it from me? Why live like... Why pretend? I wasn't pretending. Catherine's voice was soft now. This is how I choose to live. The money doesn't change who I am, but it changes everything else. Daniel was pacing now. 3 steps one way, 3 steps back. All those times I offered to pay for things. All those times I worried about you. All those... He stopped. I bought you a microwave last Christmas because I thought yours was broken. It was broken. You could have bought 10 microwaves, but I only needed one. Catherine touched his face, and it meant more coming from you. Daniel pulled away. Don't. Don't make this about meaning more. You lied to me. I never lied. You let me believe something that wasn't true. That's the same thing. Catherine opened her mouth to respond. The restaurant door burst open. Jessica ran out. Mascara streaked down her face, hair coming loose from its perfect style. Daniel, please. Please don't leave like this. He turned away from her. I can't right now, Jess. But my parents, they didn't mean what? Daniel's voice was sharp. Didn't mean to humiliate my mother. Didn't mean to offer her money to disappear. Didn't mean to spend 2 hours treating her like garbage. Jessica flinched. They thought wrong. He faced her. And you let them. You sat there. You said nothing. You let them. What was I supposed to do? Jessica's voice rose. They're my parents. I can't just... You could have defended her. Daniel's voice broke again. You could have said something. Anything. But you sat there looking embarrassed like she was the problem. Jessica was crying harder now. I was scared. I didn't know what to... You were embarrassed. Daniel's words were brutal. Clear. You were ashamed to be associated with her. Admit it. Jessica's silence was answer enough. The door opened again. Victoria and Richard stepped out. Victoria had composed herself, reapplied her lipstick, fixed her hair, but her eyes were red. Daniel, we need to talk about this rationally. Rationally? Daniel laughed. No humor in it. You just tried to pay off my mother like she was a problem to solve. We were trying to help, Richard said. His voice was tight, controlled. If we'd known about her financial situation, you would have what? Catherine spoke for the first time since they'd come out. Treated me differently. Been kind to me. Respected me. Richard straightened his tie. We would have approached the conversation differently. There it is. Catherine's voice was ice. You would have treated me differently if you'd known I had money. That's exactly the problem. That's exactly what you meant. Catherine took a step toward him. You treat people based on what they have, not who they are. And that makes you small. Both of you. Victoria's face flushed. We don't have to stand here and be insulted. You don't have to stand here at all. Catherine's voice was deadly quiet. You can go back to your hotel, your expensive suite, and think about what kind of people you've become. What kind of people? Victoria's voice rose. We worked for everything we have. We built our life from nothing. You forgot where you came from, Catherine interrupted. You forgot what it felt like to be looked down on, and now you do it to everyone else. Richard stepped forward. You have no right to judge us. You lied. You deceived us. You came here in disguise to make us look like fools. I came here dressed honestly, Catherine shot back. These are my clothes. This is my bag. This is how I live. You made yourselves look like fools by showing your true character. Our true character. Victoria was shaking now, with rage, with humiliation. You set a trap. You manipulated this entire situation. Did I manipulate you into ordering for me without asking? Did I manipulate you into commenting on every expensive thing you own? Did I manipulate you into offering me $800 to disappear? Silence. I gave you the opportunity to be kind to someone you thought had nothing, Catherine continued, and you failed. Spectacularly. Jessica was sobbing now. Full body sobs. Daniel went to her, hesitated, put his hand on her shoulder. She turned into him, buried her face in his chest. I'm sorry, she choked out. I'm so sorry. I should have said something. I should have... But you didn't, Daniel said. His voice wasn't cruel, just tired. And that's something we need to talk about. Victoria took a step toward her daughter. Jessica, come with us. You don't need to... Stay away from her, Daniel said. Not loud, but firm. Richard's face went red. You don't get to tell us. Yes, I do. Daniel moved between Jessica and her parents. She's my wife, and right now she doesn't need you making this worse. Making this worse? Victoria's voice was shrill. We're her parents. We have every right. You have no rights here, Catherine said. You're standing on a public sidewalk after publicly humiliating someone. Any authority you think you have, you just burned it. A taxi pulled up to the curb. The driver rolled down his window. Someone called for a cab. Catherine raised her hand. That's me. She walked toward the taxi. Daniel followed. Mom, wait. We need to talk about this. We will. Catherine opened the door. But not here. Not now. You need to figure things out with Jessica. And I need to... She paused. I need to process this. When? Tomorrow. Come by the apartment. Bring Jessica if she wants to come. What if she doesn't want to? Catherine looked at Jessica still crying in the middle of the sidewalk, her parents on one side, Daniel on the other, looking lost. Then you have bigger problems than my bank account. She got in the taxi. Daniel leaned down to the window. I love you, Mom. I love you too, sweetheart. She touched his face through the open window. But loving someone doesn't mean accepting how they treat other people. Remember that. The taxi started to pull away. Catherine looked back through the rear window. Daniel was standing in the middle of the sidewalk. Victoria was trying to get to Jessica. Richard was on his phone, probably calling for their car. Jessica was frozen, looking after the taxi. A family in crisis. All because Catherine had dared to show up dressed honestly. The driver caught her eye in the rearview mirror. Rough night. You could say that. Family dinner. Something like that. He nodded. Knew not to push. Where to? She gave him her address. They drove in silence for a few minutes. The city lights blurred past the window. Then the driver spoke again. Can I tell you something? Sure. I've been driving a cab for 15 years. I've seen a lot of people. Rich people, poor people, everything in between. And you know what I learned? What's that? The ones who have to tell you how much everything costs. They're usually the ones with the least. Not in money, maybe, but in everything else that matters. Catherine looked up at his eyes in the mirror. He smiled. Just an observation from someone who watches people all day. That's a good observation. Lady in a fur coat once told me her purse cost more than I make in a month. Then she stiffed me on the tip. I believe it. But you... He glanced at her in the mirror again. You're dressed like you shop at discount stores. And you tipped me $20 on a $30 fare. Catherine smiled. What does that tell you? That you're not trying to prove anything. And people who don't need to prove things, they're usually the ones worth knowing. They pulled up to her building. She paid. Added another 20 to the tip. You didn't have to do that, he said. I know. She got out. Started toward her building. Hey, lady. She turned back. Whatever happened tonight, you handled it right. I can tell. How can you tell? Because you're the one going home with your dignity intact. The other people, they're still out there trying to figure out what just happened to theirs. Catherine smiled. Thank you. Have a good night. He drove away. She stood there for a moment, looked up at her building. 5 stories. No doorman. No fancy lobby. Just home. She went inside, climbed the stairs, unlocked her door. The apartment was exactly as she left it. Quiet. Simple. Hers. She dropped her canvas bag on the counter, kicked off her worn-out shoes, peeled off the wrinkled gray dress, put on pajamas, old soft ones, made tea, sat by the window. Her phone buzzed. A text from Daniel. Mom, I'm so confused right now. I don't even know what to think. She typed back, "That's okay. Confusion means you're processing. Take your time." Another buzz. "Why did you really do it?" The dress, the act, all of it. She stared at the question for a long time, then typed, "Because I needed you to see them. Really see them. Before it was too late." Too late for what? Too late to choose the kind of man you want to be. The kind of husband. The kind of father someday. You can't choose that if you don't know what the alternative looks like. Dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. "I need time. Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere." "Are you mad at me?" Catherine's throat tightened. "No, sweetheart. I'm not mad at you. But I called you simple. I was embarrassed. You're human," she typed. Humans make mistakes. What matters is what you do after you see them. What if Jessica can't get past this? Then she can't. And you'll know something important about who you married. That's a scary thought. The truth usually is. The dots appeared again. Stayed there for a long time. Finally, "I love you, Mom. Even though I'm confused and hurt and don't understand why you didn't tell me, I love you. I love you too. Always." She put the phone down, drank her tea, watched the city lights. Another text. This one from an unknown number. "Mother Catherine. This is Jessica. Please don't hate me. I don't know what to say except I'm sorry. I was wrong. My parents were wrong. Everything was wrong. I don't know how to fix this, but I want to try. I need to try. Please give me a chance." Catherine stared at the message. Her first instinct was to delete it, to let Jessica stew in what she'd allowed to happen. But that wasn't who Catherine was. She typed back, "I don't hate you, Jessica, but we do need to talk. Not tonight. Give yourself a few days to think about what you saw tonight, what you felt, what you chose to do and not do. Then come see me if you still want to." "Thank you. I will. I promise." Catherine set the phone aside again, but it buzzed one more time. This number she recognized immediately. Victoria. "This isn't over. You humiliated us, manipulated us, made us look like fools in public. There will be consequences for this." Catherine's jaw tightened. She typed back, "The only one who made you look like fools was you. You did that the moment you decided my worth was tied to my bank account. As for consequences, I've spent 40 years dealing with people who tried to threaten me." "You're not even in the top 100. She blocked the number, then blocked Richards when he texted something similar. She finished her tea, washed the cup, put it away, went to bed. The sleep didn't come easy. She kept seeing Daniel's face, the hurt, the confusion, the feeling of betrayal. She kept hearing his voice. "Why didn't you tell me?" And she kept asking herself the same question. Had she been wrong? Had she let her principles get in the way of her relationship with her son? Had she damaged something irreparable by teaching him a lesson he didn't ask for? At 3 a.m, she got up, made more tea, sat at her small kitchen table, pulled out a photo album she kept in the drawer. Daniel as a baby, toddler, little boy, teenager, adult. Every stage of his life documented. Every stage she'd navigated alone. No money in the early days, living paycheck to paycheck. Sometimes, not even that. She remembered the apartment they lived in when Daniel was 5. 1 bedroom. They'd shared a bed because there was no space for another one. She remembered the Christmas when she'd had $30 to her name. She'd bought him 1 toy. He'd been so happy he'd cried. She remembered the times she'd skipped meals so he could eat. The times she'd worn the same outfit for weeks so he could have new school clothes. The times she'd worked double shifts so he could go on the field trip with his class. And through all of it, she never once told him how hard it was, because he didn't need to know. He needed to be a kid. And later, when the money came, she didn't tell him about that either, because she didn't want him to change. Didn't want him to start measuring himself by dollars. Didn't want him to become like the Victorias and Richards of the world. She'd wanted him to be kind, to be humble, to understand that character mattered more than cash. And he was those things. Until tonight, when he'd called her simple with an apologetic tone. When he'd looked embarrassed by her appearance. When he'd stayed silent while his in-laws humiliated her. Not all the time. Not in his core. But in that moment, he'd failed the test. And Catherine had needed him to see that failure, to feel it, to understand what it meant, because if he didn't see it now, he'd become it later. The photo album sat open in front of her. Daniel's kindergarten graduation photo, gap-toothed smile, proud of his paper diploma. She touched his face through the plastic. "I did the right thing," she whispered to the photo. "I know I did." But doubt crept in anyway. By 5:30, when the sun started rising, Catherine still hadn't slept. She showered, dressed in her real clothes, comfortable jeans, a soft sweater, made coffee, waited. At 8 o'clock, there was a knock at her door. She opened it. Daniel stood there. He looked like he hadn't slept either. "I couldn't wait until later," he said. "Can I come in?" She stepped aside. He walked past her, looked around the apartment like he was seeing it for the first time. "You really live like this. I really live like this. But you don't have to." "No," Catherine agreed. "I don't have to. I choose to." He turned to face her. "Why? Because this is enough. This is all I need. But you could have—" "What?" Catherine cut him off. "A bigger apartment, expensive furniture, designer clothes. And what would that give me?" "Daniel, what would change?" He had no answer. "Nothing would change," Catherine continued. "I'd still be me, still your mother, still the woman who raised you alone, still the person I've always been. The only difference is people like Victoria and Richard would treat me better. And I don't want to be treated well because I have money. I want to be treated well because I'm a human being who deserves basic respect." Daniel sat down heavily on her old couch. "I called you simple." "You did. To them. To Victoria and Richard. I told them you were simple and lived modestly and worked in an office. I know. And you came dressed to match that description." He looked up at her. "You came dressed like that to prove a point. I came dressed like that to see the truth. You could have just told me they were bad people. Would you have believed me?" Silence. "Exactly," Catherine said. "You needed to see it yourself. You needed to watch them treat someone they thought was beneath them. You needed to feel what it was like to see your mother disrespected, because that's the only way you'd understand what kind of people they are, and what kind of person I was being," Daniel said quietly. "Yes." He dropped his head into his hands. "I'm so ashamed." "Good." He looked up startled. "Shame means you have a conscience," Catherine said. "Shame means you know you did wrong. People like Victoria and Richard, they don't feel shame. They feel anger at being exposed. There's a difference." Daniel was quiet for a long moment. Then, "Jessica wants to come see you, to apologize." "I know. She texted me." "Are you going to forgive her?" "That depends." "On what? On whether she's sorry for what she did or sorry she got caught doing it?" Daniel flinched. "That's harsh." "It's honest." Catherine sat down next to him. "Jessica sat there for 2 hours, watching her parents humiliate me. She said nothing. Did nothing. She was embarrassed by me, yes, but she was also comfortable with her parents' behavior until she found out I had money. Then suddenly, she was sorry. She was scared. Of what? Of disappointing her parents, of causing conflict. And that's exactly the problem." Catherine took his hand. "Daniel, you need to ask yourself a question. Is Jessica the kind of person who will stand up for what's right even when it's hard? Or is she the kind who stays quiet to keep the peace?" "I don't know," he admitted. "Then you need to find out. Because that matters. It matters a lot." Another long silence. Then Daniel said, "Victoria called my phone 17 times last night. Left 9 voicemails. Richard sent 12 texts. What did they say? That you manipulated the situation. That you're trying to turn me against them. That Jessica needs to come home with them and end this marriage before it's too late. And what did you say? Nothing yet. I blocked them both." "Good." Daniel looked at her. "Really good. They're Jessica's parents." "They're bullies," Catherine corrected. "And bullies don't stop until someone stops them. You blocking them. That's you setting a boundary. That's you saying their behavior isn't acceptable. Jessica's going to be upset. Probably. She might choose them over me. She might." Catherine squeezed his hand. "But if she does, you'll know something important about your marriage. Everything keeps coming back to that, Daniel said. Finding out important things. Learning hard truths. Like this is all a test. It is a test, Catherine said simply. Life is a series of tests. The question is whether you're brave enough to take them honestly. Daniel leaned back against the couch, closed his eyes. I'm exhausted. I know. I'm confused. I know. I'm angry at you for lying to me, and angry at myself for caring, and angry at Victoria and Richard for being who they are, and angry at Jessica for not standing up, and angry at... He stopped. I'm just angry at everything. That's okay. Is it... Anger means you care. Apathy is what you need to worry about. They sat in silence for a while. Then Daniel said, Tell me about your job. Your real job. So Catherine did. She told him about starting as a receptionist at 23, pregnant, alone, terrified. She told him about studying at night, learning skills, fighting for every promotion. She told him about the discrimination she'd faced, the men who'd underestimated her, the battles she'd won and lost. She told him about reaching VP level and feeling like she'd finally proven something, but realizing the proof didn't matter because the people who needed to see it never would. She told him about choosing to live modestly because the money felt empty without meaning. And she told him about wanting him to grow up different, to grow up better, to understand that worth came from character, not cash. By the time she finished, Daniel was crying. I'm sorry, Mom, for all of it, for not seeing you, for not asking, for being ashamed, for everything. I know, sweetheart. How do I fix this? You can't fix the past. You can only choose better in the future. What does that look like? Catherine stood, went to her kitchen, came back with 2 mugs of coffee, handed him one. It looks like deciding what kind of man you want to be, what kind of husband, what values you want to build your life on. And then you live them, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Daniel took a sip of coffee. Jessica's going to come here today. She texted me this morning. She wants to talk to you. I know. Will you hear her out? I'll listen, Catherine said. Whether I hear her is up to what she says. Daniel was about to respond when there was a knock at the door. 3 soft taps. He looked at Catherine. That's her. Already? She texted me in the car. Said she couldn't wait. Catherine set down her coffee mug. Then let's not keep her waiting. Daniel stood. Went to the door. Opened it. Jessica stood there without makeup, hair in a messy bun, wearing jeans and a Georgetown sweatshirt Catherine had never seen before. She looked young, vulnerable, terrified. Hi. Her voice was barely a whisper. Come in. Daniel stepped aside. Jessica walked in slowly. Her eyes went immediately to Catherine. Mother Catherine, her voice broke. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Catherine didn't stand, didn't move, just watched. I should have said something. I should have stopped them. I should have. Jessica was crying now, full tears. I have no excuse. What I did was wrong. What I allowed was wrong, and I'm so ashamed. Are you? Catherine's voice was neutral. Not warm, not cold, just waiting. Yes, Jessica wiped her eyes. I couldn't sleep last night. I kept seeing your face, the way you sat there taking it, taking everything they said. And I said nothing. Why? The question hung in the air. Jessica looked at Daniel. He nodded slightly, encouraging her. Because I was raised that way, Jessica said finally. I was raised to never contradict my parents, to never cause conflict, to keep the peace no matter what. Even when the peace means someone else suffers, Jessica flinched. I didn't think of it that way. Then how did you think of it? I thought... Jessica stopped. Started again. I thought if I just stayed quiet, it would be over soon. That we'd get through dinner and it would be fine. Fine. Catherine repeated the word. Tasted it. You thought it would be fine. I was wrong. You were complicit. The word hit like a slap. Jessica took a step back. I know I was. And I hate myself for it. Do you? Catherine stood now, walked closer. Or do you hate that Daniel saw it? That I turned out to have money, that your parents' behavior embarrassed you. No, Jessica's face was red. I hate what I did. I hate that I was weak. I hate that I chose comfort over what was right. Then why are you here? Jessica blinked. To apologize. To try to make it right. How do you plan to make it right? Silence. Jessica looked at Daniel again. He didn't help her this time. I don't know, Jessica admitted. I don't know how to fix this. Because it can't be fixed. Catherine's voice was gentle now, but firm. What happened, happened. You can't apologize it away. You can't make me unhear your mother offering me money to disappear. You can't make me unsee you, sitting there in silence. Jessica's shoulders shook. Then why did you tell me to come? If you won't forgive me, why am I here? I didn't say I won't forgive you. I said you can't fix what happened. There's a difference. Jessica looked up, hope flickering in her eyes. But forgiveness isn't the same as forgetting, Catherine continued. I can forgive you for your weakness. I can understand that you were raised in a certain way, but that doesn't mean I trust you now. What do I have to do? Jessica's voice was desperate. What do I have to do to earn your trust? Show me who you choose to be from this point forward. I choose Daniel. I choose to be better. I choose... Words are easy, Catherine interrupted. Actions are what matter. And right now, the only action you've taken is coming here to apologize after your parents were exposed as shallow, cruel people. That's not brave. That's damage control. Jessica's face crumpled. That's not fair. Isn't it? Catherine tilted her head. Last night at dinner, when your mother said I was a burden, did you speak up? No. When she offered me $800 to disappear, did you say anything? No. When she spent 2 hours making sure I knew how worthless I was, did you defend me? No. Jessica was sobbing now. No, I didn't. And I'm so sorry. But this morning after you found out I have money, suddenly you're sorry. Catherine's voice was sharp now. Suddenly, you want to make amends. Suddenly, I'm worth your respect. It's not about the money, isn't it? Catherine challenged. Be honest, Jessica. If I really was a poor woman working a secretary job, would you be here right now? Jessica opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again, couldn't answer, because they both knew the truth. That's what I thought, Catherine said. Daniel stepped forward. Mom, that's not... It is fair. Catherine looked at him. And she knows it. Don't you? Jessica? Jessica was crying so hard she could barely speak. You didn't think about it until it affected you, Catherine finished. Until it became your problem. Until your perfect life with your wealthy parents was disrupted. That's when you started to care. I care about you, Jessica insisted. I care about Daniel. You care about yourself, Catherine said. Not cruelly, just honestly. And that's human. But it's not enough. Not for a marriage. Not for a family. Not for the life Daniel deserves. Jessica looked at Daniel, desperate, pleading. Say something. Please. Daniel's face was anguished. I don't know what to say, Jess. Say you believe me. Say you know I'm sorry. Say we can get past this. Can we... His voice was quiet. Can we get past the fact that you let your parents treat my mother like garbage? Can we get past you sitting there embarrassed while I was dying inside? Yes. Jessica grabbed his hands. Yes, we can. If you let me. If you give me a chance. I gave you a chance last night, Daniel said. His voice was breaking. I gave you 2 hours to say something. Anything. And you stayed silent. I was scared. Of what? Daniel pulled his hands away. Of your parents being upset. Of causing a scene. Of doing the right thing. All of it. Jessica's honesty was brutal. I was scared of all of it. And I chose wrong. But I want to choose right now. Please let me choose right. Before anyone could respond, there was a pounding on the door. Hard, aggressive, angry. All 3 of them froze. More pounding. Jessica! Jessica! Open this door right now, Victoria's voice. Shrill, demanding. Oh my God, Jessica whispered. I told them not to come. I told them to leave it alone. Of course you did. Catherine walked to the door. Because that's exactly what people like Victoria do. They don't listen. They don't respect boundaries. They demand what expect and she opened the door. Victoria stood there in yesterday's emeralds in a designer pantsuit. Richard behind her in a business suit. Both of them looked like they'd gotten exactly as much sleep as everyone else. 0. You, Victoria pointed at Catherine. You have some nerve. Mrs. Sutton, Catherine's voice was ice. You're not welcome here. I don't care what I am. Victoria pushed past her into the apartment. Jessica, get your things. We're leaving. Mom, please. Don't Mom please me. Victoria grabbed Jessica's arm. We're going back to the hotel. We're getting on a plane. And we're going home. Let go of her. Daniel's voice was low. Dangerous. Richard stepped forward. Don't you dare speak to my wife that way. Or what? Daniel moved between Victoria and Jessica. You'll offer me $800 a month to disappear too. Victoria's face went red. That's not what we were trying to help. You were trying to buy us off. Daniel's voice was getting louder. You were trying to erase the parts of my life that embarrassed you, and you used money to do it because that's the only way you know how to solve problems. We offered your mother financial assistance out of generosity. Generosity, Catherine laughed. No humor in it. You offered me $800 a month to stop being a problem. That's not generosity. That's a bribe. Call it whatever you want, Richard said. The offer stands. If you want to take it, she doesn't want your money. Daniel's voice was shaking now, with rage, with hurt. She has more money than you do. She's more successful than you'll ever be. And she's a better person than either of you combined. Victoria's hand flew up, fast. The slap connected with Daniel's face before anyone could stop her. The sound echoed in the small apartment. Jessica screamed. Catherine moved forward, fast. She grabbed Victoria's wrist, hard. Touch my son again. Catherine's voice was deadly quiet, and I will have you arrested for assault. Let go of me. Victoria tried to pull away. Catherine held firm. You came to my home uninvited. You made demands. You assaulted my son. I have every right to call the police right now. You wouldn't dare. Try me. They stared at each other. Two women. Two completely different worlds. Catherine released Victoria's wrist, pushed her away slightly. Richard grabbed his wife, pulled her back. Daniel's cheek was bright red, handprint visible. Jessica was frozen, staring at her mother. You hit him, Jessica whispered. You actually hit him. He disrespected me. You hit my husband. Jessica's voice was getting stronger, louder. You came to his mother's home and you hit him. Jessica, don't be dramatic. I'm not being dramatic, Jessica was shouting now. You're out of control. You've been out of control since last night. You can't accept that you were wrong, so you're doubling down and making it worse. We weren't wrong, Victoria insisted. She deceived us. She lied. She made us look like fools. You made yourselves look like fools, Jessica's voice cracked. You treated a woman like garbage because you thought she was poor. You offered her money to disappear because you were embarrassed by her. And when it turned out she had more than you couldn't handle it. That's not... It is true. Jessica was crying again, but angry tears now. And I sat there and let you do it. I watched you humiliate her, and I said nothing, because I'm just like you. I'm shallow and judgmental, and I care more about appearances than character. Stop this right now. No, Jessica's voice was firm, final. I won't stop, because last night I saw who you really are, who I've been raised to be, and I hate it. I hate all of it. Victoria's face went pale. You don't mean that. I do mean it. And Jessica looked at Daniel, his red cheek, his hurt eyes. I mean it more than I've ever meant anything. Richard stepped forward. Jessica, you're upset. You're not thinking clearly. Come with us, and we'll talk about this when everyone's calmed down. I am calm, Jessica said. I'm clearer than I've ever been. She turned to Catherine. You asked me what I was going to do to earn your trust. You said words were easy and actions mattered. I did. Then here's my action. Jessica pulled off the diamond bracelet on her wrist, the one Victoria had given her for her college graduation. She handed it to her mother. I don't want this anymore. Victoria stared at the bracelet. This cost $15,000. I know, and it means nothing to me now. Jessica pulled off her earrings, the diamond studs Richard had given her for her birthday. These neither. Jessica, stop this. I'm done. Jessica's voice was shaking but determined. I'm done measuring my worth by what you've bought me. I'm done caring more about appearances than people. I'm done being who you raised me to be. And what are you going to be instead? Victoria's voice was venomous. Poor struggling, living in an apartment like this. If that's what it takes, Jessica said. Yes. Richard pulled out his phone, started typing. Fine. If that's your choice, we're cutting you off, effective immediately. No more allowance, no more gifts, no more help with anything. Good, Jessica said. I don't want your help anymore. You'll regret this, Victoria said. Her voice was cold, hard. When you're struggling to pay rent, when you can't afford the life you're used to, you'll come crawling back. Maybe, Jessica said, but at least I'll be able to look at myself in the mirror. Victoria's hand raised again. This time, Catherine caught it before it could move. I wouldn't. They stood there, frozen tableau. Then Richard grabbed Victoria's other arm. We're leaving. Good idea, Catherine said. And don't come back. This isn't over, Richard said. Yes, it is. Catherine's voice was final. You're not welcome in my home. You're not welcome near my son. And if you continue to harass us, I will file a restraining order. Do you understand? Richard's jaw clenched, but he nodded. He pulled Victoria toward the door. She resisted. Jessica, if you walk out that door with them, I'm not walking out with you, Jessica interrupted. I'm staying here, with my husband, with my family. Victoria's face crumpled. For a moment, she looked genuinely hurt. We're your family. No, Jessica said quietly. You're the people who raised me, but family is the people who love you without conditions, who respect you without requiring you to prove your worth, who treat others with kindness regardless of what they have. We love you. You love the version of me that obeys you, Jessica corrected. The version that never questions, never challenges, never chooses anyone over you. But that's not love. That's control. Victoria opened her mouth, closed it. No words came. Richard pulled her harder. Come on, Victoria. We're done here. They walked out. The door closed behind them. The apartment fell silent. Jessica collapsed onto the couch, put her head in her hands, started sobbing. Daniel sat next to her, pulled her close, let her cry. Catherine stood by the window, watching the street below, saw Victoria and Richard get into a black town car, saw it drive away. They're gone, she said quietly. Jessica looked up. Her face was red and swollen and raw. What did I just do? You chose, Catherine said simply. I just lost my parents. No, Catherine turned to face her. You just found yourself. Jessica broke down again. Daniel held her, rocked her slightly. Catherine sat down on the other side of Jessica, put her hand on the young woman's back. Listen to me, Catherine said. What you just did was one of the hardest things a person can do. You stood up to the people who raised you. You chose principle over comfort. You chose truth over ease. It hurts, Jessica choked out. It hurts so much. I know, but it's the right kind of hurt. The growing kind. They sat like that for a long time. 3 people in a small apartment, processing, feeling, existing in the aftermath of explosion. Finally, Jessica lifted her head, looked at Catherine. Will they ever forgive me? I don't know, Catherine said honestly. People like Victoria and Richard, they don't forgive easily. They see the world in terms of loyalty and betrayal, and to them, you just betrayed them. But I didn't. You did, Catherine interrupted. You betrayed their expectations, their control, their vision of who you should be, and they'll struggle with that. So I just lost my parents forever. Maybe. Or maybe someday they'll realize what they lost, what they sacrificed, what their need for control cost them. Catherine squeezed Jessica's shoulder. But that's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to yourself now, to your marriage, to the person you want to become. Jessica nodded, wiped her eyes, looked at Daniel. I'm sorry. For all of it. For who I was. For what I allowed. For... Stop apologizing, Daniel said. His voice was hoarse. What you just did. Standing up to them. Giving back their gifts. Choosing us. That's all the apology I need. But your face... Jessica touched his red cheek gently. She hit you. She did. And you saw it. really saw it. And you made a choice. The right choice, Jessica said. Finally. They kissed. Soft. Tender. Healing. Catherine stood up. Gave them space. Went to her kitchen. Made more coffee. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost didn't check it. But something made her look. The message said, "This is Margaret Chen. I work in HR at Global Tech. I received a concerning call this morning from a Richard Sutton claiming to be a board member. He said there were complaints about your conduct and demanded your employment records. I told him we don't release information to non-board members and that your record is impeccable, but I wanted you to know. Call me if you need anything." Catherine stared at the message. So that was Richard's play, going after her job. She typed back, "Thank you, Margaret. Please document everything. If he calls again, let me know immediately." Margaret replied, "Already documented." And Catherine, "Whatever's going on, we've got your back." Catherine smiled, put her phone down, walked back to the living room. Daniel and Jessica were talking quietly, holding hands, making plans. "We need to find our own place," Jessica was saying. "Something we can afford without my parents' money." "I have some savings," Daniel said, "and I get my bonus next month." "Actually," Catherine interrupted, "I might be able to help with that." They both looked at her. "I have an investment property," Catherine said. "A condo I bought 5 years ago. I've been renting it out, but the tenant just moved. It's in a good neighborhood. 2 bedrooms. Reasonable rent." "Mom, we can't—" "I'm not offering charity," Catherine said. "I'm offering fair market rent. You'll pay me every month like any landlord, but it's available if you want it." Jessica and Daniel looked at each other. "We'll think about it," Daniel said carefully. "Good." Catherine sat down again. "But before you decide anything, there's something you both need to understand." "What?" "This isn't over," Catherine said. "Richard just tried to get me fired. Victoria will probably try something else. They're not going to let this go quietly." "What do we do?" Jessica asked. "We live our lives," Catherine said simply. "We don't engage. We don't retaliate. We just keep being who we choose to be. And eventually, they'll either accept it or they won't. But either way is not our problem anymore." Jessica nodded slowly. "I can do that." "Can you—" Catherine looked at her directly. "Can you handle them bad-mouthing you? Cutting you off completely? Turning family against you?" "I don't know," Jessica admitted. "But I want to try." "That's all anyone can do," Catherine said. They talked for another hour. About practical things. About feelings. About what came next. Then Jessica and Daniel left together, hand in hand, uncertain but united. Catherine closed the door behind them, stood in her quiet apartment. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was Victoria. The message said, "You turned my daughter against me. You destroyed my family. I will never forgive you for this. Never." Catherine read it twice, then deleted it, blocked the number, and went to make herself lunch. Because life went on, even after everything burned down, especially then. Catherine was cutting vegetables for lunch when her work phone rang. Not her personal phone, her work phone. That was never good on a Sunday. She wiped her hands, checked the caller ID. Marcus Webb, her boss, the CEO. She answered. "Marcus, wasn't expecting to hear from you today." "Catherine." His voice was tight. "We need to talk. Can you come into the office?" "When?" "Now would be good." Her stomach dropped. "What's this about?" "I'd rather discuss it in person." "Marcus, I'm not coming into the office on a Sunday without knowing why." Silence on the other end. Then, "We received a formal complaint about you from a Richard Sutton. He claims to be on our board of directors and says you've been engaging in fraudulent behavior." Catherine's jaw clenched. "Richard Sutton is not on our board. I know every board member personally, and I've never engaged in fraud." "I know that. You know that." "But he's making noise. Big noise. He's threatening to go to the press if we don't investigate. Let him. Catherine, I'm serious. Let him go to the press. Let him make all the noise he wants. Because when I'm done explaining what actually happened, he's going to look like a fool." "What did happen?" So Catherine told him. All of it. The dinner, the test, the revelation, Victoria's slap, Jessica's choice. When she finished, Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Then he started laughing. You dressed up as a poor person to test your son's in-laws. I dressed honestly. They made the assumptions. Catherine, that's brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant. Tell that to Richard Sutton. Oh, I will. Marcus's voice had gone hard. I will absolutely tell him that. And then I'm going to tell him that if he ever contacts this company again with false allegations, I will personally sue him for harassment. You don't have to. Yes, I do. You're one of our best executives. You've been with us for over 20 years. Some angry father-in-law doesn't get to threaten that. Catherine felt something unknot in her chest. Thank you. Don't thank me. Just come in tomorrow, prepared to brief me fully. I want documentation of everything. Every text, every call, every threat. Because if this escalates, I want to be ready. It will escalate, Catherine said. People like the Suttons don't back down. Neither do I. Marcus hung up. Catherine set her phone down, went back to making lunch. But her hands were shaking slightly, because Richard going after her job meant this was war now. No more passive aggression. No more subtle threats. Actual war. Her personal phone buzzed. Text from Daniel. Mom, Jessica's aunt just called. Said Victoria's been calling everyone in the family, telling them Jessica had a mental breakdown and needs an intervention. What do we do? Catherine typed back. Nothing. Let her talk. The truth will come out eventually. But they're believing her. Jessica's getting calls from cousins she hasn't talked to in years. Then Jessica needs to decide who matters enough to explain the truth to. Everyone else can believe what they want. Dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. That seems harsh. It's reality. You can't control what people think. You can only control your response. Jessica's really upset. I know. Bring her over if she needs to talk. 20 minutes later, they were at her door again. Jessica's eyes were red and puffy. She was holding her phone like it was a bomb. I have 43 missed calls, she said. 43. From family members I barely know. Don't answer them, Catherine said. But they think I'm crazy. They think I had a breakdown. My mom told them I attacked her. Did you? What, no? Then you have nothing to worry about. But they're going to believe her. She's their sister. Their cousin. You're the person who chose truth over comfort, Catherine interrupted. And that always comes with a price. Jessica sank onto the couch. I didn't think the price would be this high. It always is. How do you do it? Jessica looked up at her. How do you handle people judging you, lying about you, turning others against you? I remember who I am, Catherine said simply. I remember what I know to be true. And I let go of trying to control what other people think. That sounds impossible. It is impossible. Until you do it. Then it becomes the only way to survive. Jessica's phone rang again. She looked at the screen. It's my cousin Rachel, the one I was close to growing up. Answer it, Catherine said. If she's close to you, she deserves to hear your side. Jessica hesitated, then accepted the call, put it on speaker. Rachel, Jess, oh my God, are you okay? Your mom said you had a breakdown at dinner and attacked her, and I didn't have a breakdown, Jessica said firmly. And I didn't attack anyone. Then what happened? Because Aunt Victoria is telling everyone you've lost your mind and your husband's brainwashing you. And, Rachel, can I tell you the truth? The actual truth. Of course. So Jessica told her. Everything. The dinner. Catherine's test. Victoria's behavior. The $800 offer. The slap. All of it. When she finished, Rachel was silent for a long moment. Holy shit, she finally said. Yeah. Jess, I'm so sorry. I had no idea they were like that. I didn't either. Not really. Not until I saw it. So, what are you going to do? I'm going to live my life without the money, without the control, with my husband and his family. In silence. Then, the fool, Jessica started crying. Believe me, of course I believe you. I've seen how your parents are. I've just never said anything because... Rachel paused. Because it's easier not to rock the boat. I know. But you rocked it. You actually did it, and I'm proud of you. Thank you. You have no idea how much I needed to hear that. They talked for a few more minutes, made plans to meet for coffee, hung up. Jessica looked at Catherine. One person believes me. That's all you need to start with, Catherine said. One person becomes two. Two becomes four. Truth spreads slower than lies, but it spreads deeper. Daniel's phone rang this time. He looked at the screen, frowned. It's Jessica's dad. Don't answer, Jessica said immediately. I have to. I need to tell him to stop calling everyone. Daniel, but he'd already answered. Put it on speaker. Richard. Daniel. Richard's voice was cold, formal. I'm calling to inform you that I filed a police report against your mother for fraud and intimidation. Daniel's face went white. What? She misrepresented herself to us. She engaged in deception with the intent to cause emotional harm. That's fraud. And her threats against Victoria constitute intimidation. The police will be contacting her shortly. You can't be serious. I'm completely serious. Your mother wanted to play games fine. Now she'll face the consequences. The only ones who are going to face consequences are you, Daniel said. His voice was shaking but steady. Mom didn't misrepresent anything. She wore her own clothes. You made assumptions. That's on you. She deliberately deceived us. She wore a dress and you decided she was poor. She never said she was poor. You assumed it. It's still fraud. It's not fraud, Catherine cut in. And your police report will go nowhere, but feel free to waste their time. I'm sure they love dealing with wealthy people making false reports. This isn't over, Richard said. You keep saying that, Catherine replied. But what exactly are you going to do? You already tried to get me fired. That failed. You're turning Jessica's family against her. That's backfiring. You filed a false police report. That will go nowhere. So what's next, Richard? What's your end game here? Silence. Because from where I'm sitting, Catherine continued, you're a desperate man who got exposed and is lashing out in every direction hoping something will stick. But nothing's going to stick, because I didn't do anything wrong. You humiliated us. You humiliated yourselves. Catherine's voice was ice. I just gave you the opportunity. You did the rest. We'll see what the police say. We will. And when they tell you that wearing modest clothes isn't fraud, and that calling out bad behavior isn't intimidation, maybe you'll finally accept that you lost this fight. Richard hung up. Jessica was crying again. He filed a police report. It won't go anywhere, Catherine said. But it means we need to document everything, every threat, every call, every text. Why? Because if this keeps escalating, we might need a restraining order. Jessica's head snapped up. Against my parents. If necessary, yes. But they're my parents. Who slapped your husband? Who are harassing us? Who filed a false police report? Jessica, they're not acting like parents right now. They're acting like people who've lost control and will do anything to get it back. Daniel put his arm around Jessica. Mom's right. We need to protect ourselves. From my own parents, Jessica whispered. How did this happen? They made choices, Catherine said. And now they're dealing with consequences they don't like. But that's not your fault. Jessica nodded, but she looked broken. Catherine's work phone rang again. Marcus, she answered. What now? Richard Sutton just called our legal department threatening to sue the company for enabling your fraudulent behavior. Our lawyers laughed at him. Good. But Catherine, he's not stopping. He's making this his mission. Let him. I have documentation of everything. He's got nothing. Except money and time and apparently a vendetta. Marcus, are you worried? Silence. Then no. I'm annoyed. There's a difference. Then let him waste his money on lawyers who tell him he has no case. I'm not backing down. I didn't think you would. Just wanted you to know. He hung up. Catherine looked at Daniel and Jessica. Both of them looked exhausted, beaten down. Go home, she said. Both of you. Get some rest. Tomorrow's going to be a long day. What happens tomorrow? Daniel asked. Tomorrow we find out if Richard actually filed a police report or if he was bluffing. Tomorrow, Jessica's family continues to call, and we see who believes the truth. Tomorrow, I go to work and deal with whatever Richard throws at me next. Catherine stood. Tomorrow, life continues, and we continue with it. How are you so calm? Jessica asked. How are you not freaking out? Because I've been dealing with men like Richard for 40 years, Catherine said. Men who think money equals power. Men who threaten lawsuits when they don't get their way. Men who try to intimidate people into submission. And you know what I've learned? What? They're all the same. They bluster. They threaten. They make noise. But when you stand firm, they eventually fold. Because they're bullies. And bullies only win if you back down. And if we don't back down, then we win. Eventually. Daniel and Jessica left. Catherine cleaned up. Made dinner. Ate alone. Her phone stayed quiet for a few hours. Then at 8 p.m., her doorbell rang. She looked through the peephole. 2 police officers. So Richard hadn't been bluffing after all. She opened the door. Catherine Hayes. That's me. Ma'am, we received a report that you engaged in fraudulent behavior and made threats against Victoria Sutton. Can we ask you some questions? Of course. Come in. They came in. Both young. Both looking like they'd rather be anywhere else. Can you tell us about your relationship with the Suttons? So Catherine did. For the 3rd time that day, she explained everything. The dinner, the test, the revelation. When she finished, one officer was trying not to smile. So you wore your own clothes and they assumed you were poor. Correct. And you never told them you were poor. Never. And the threats, I told Victoria that if she touched my son again, I'd have her arrested for assault because she just slapped him. That's not a threat. That's a statement of fact. The officers exchanged a glance. Ma'am, we're going to be honest with you. This isn't fraud. This isn't intimidation. This is a family dispute. I told Mr. Sutton that when he called. I'm sure you did. The officer closed his notebook. We'll file a report saying we investigated and found no evidence of criminal behavior. That should be the end of it. What if he keeps calling? Then we'll tell him to stop wasting police resources. The officer stood. For what it's worth, I think you did something pretty brave. Brave. Testing people like that. Seeing who they really are. Not many people have the guts. After they left, Catherine sat down. Her phone rang immediately. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. But something made her. Hello? Ms. Hayes. This is Detective Martinez with the Fraud Division. I need to speak with you about some financial irregularities. Catherine's heart stopped. Financial irregularities. Yes, ma'am. Richard Sutton filed a complaint claiming you embezzled money from Global Tech to fund a lifestyle you claimed not to have. Can you come down to the station? That's absurd. I've never embezzled anything. I'm sure we can clear this up quickly. Can you come tomorrow morning? I'll have my lawyer contact you. That's your right. But Ms. Hayes, if you're innocent, cooperation usually speeds things up. Catherine's mind was racing. What time tomorrow? 9 a.m. I'll be there. She hung up. Immediately called Marcus. Richard just accused me of embezzlement. What? He told the police I embezzled money from the company. I have to go in tomorrow for questioning. Marcus swore loudly. That son of a Catherine, don't worry. I'll have our legal team meet you there. And I'll pull every financial record we have, showing you've never touched a penny you weren't entitled to. This is escalating too fast. He's desperate. Desperate people do stupid things. Marcus paused. Do you want to file a harassment complaint? Not yet. Let's see what the police say tomorrow. But after she hung up, Catherine's hands were shaking because embezzlement was serious. Even false accusations could ruin careers, destroy reputations. Richard knew that. That's why he'd done it. Her phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. You should have taken the $800. Catherine stared at it. Then something inside her snapped. She called Daniel. I need you to do something for me. What? I need you to find out everything you can about Richard's business. Financial records, property values, everything. Why? Because I'm done playing defense. It's time to go on offense. Mom, what are you going to do? I'm going to find out if Richard Sutton is as wealthy as he claims to be. And if he's not, I'm going to make sure everyone knows it. That's pretty aggressive. He accused me of embezzlement, Daniel. He's trying to destroy my career, my reputation, everything I've built for 40 years. I'm done being nice. Okay, I'll see what I can find. Thank you. She hung up, paced her apartment. Her mind was spinning. Then her phone rang again, a number she recognized this time. Her lawyer, Patricia Chin. Kathy, I just got a very interesting phone call. From who? From Victoria Sutton's lawyer. They want to settle. Settle what? There's nothing to settle. That's what I said. But apparently they're willing to drop all complaints and leave you alone if you agree to stay away from Jessica. Absolutely not. That's what I told them you'd say. But Kathy, they're getting desperate, which means they're going to get more dangerous. Let them. I have nothing to hide. Everyone has something to hide, Patricia said gently. And people with resources can dig it up. Then let them dig. They won't find anything. I hope you're right. After Patricia hung up, Catherine sat in silence. The apartment felt too small, too quiet. Her phone buzzed. Daniel again. Mom, I found something. Richard's properties. They're all mortgaged, heavily. And he's 3 months behind on payments on the Aspen place. Catherine sat up straight. How did you find that? Jessica gave me access to some of her dad's old emails. I shouldn't have looked, but keep looking. Are you sure? I'm sure. Find everything you can. She hung up. And for the first time since this started, Catherine smiled. Because if Richard Sutton was leveraged to the hilt, if he was drowning in debt, if his wealth was all smoke and mirrors, then he was the fraud, not her. And she was going to prove it. Her phone rang one more time. Marcus again. Catherine, I just got off the phone with our CFO. We did a full audit of your finances. Every penny accounted for. Every transaction clean. You're completely clear. Good. But Catherine, there's something else. What? We had to pull Richard Sutton's financial records as part of the investigation because he claimed you'd been taking money. So we looked into whether anyone had been making unauthorized transfers. And we found something, not from you, from a different account. Someone's been embezzling from us for 2 years. Small amounts, under the radar, but consistent. Catherine's blood went cold. Who? We're still investigating, but the account belongs to a company called Sutton Holdings, LLC. Silence. Richard Sutton has been embezzling from Global Tech, Catherine whispered. It looks that way. We're involving law enforcement tomorrow. Does he know you know? Not yet, but he's about to. Catherine sat back, closed her eyes, and realized something stunning. Richard had accused her of embezzlement because he was embezzling. He'd gone on the attack to hide his own crimes, and now it was all about to come crashing down. Marcus, she said quietly, don't tell him yet. Why not? Because I want to be there when he finds out. The next morning, Catherine walked into the police station at 8:45. Patricia was already there. So was Marcus and Global Tech's head lawyer. They don't know we know, Marcus said quietly. Richard thinks he's here to watch you go down. Good. Catherine's voice was still. Let's keep it that way. Detective Martinez came out at 9 sharp. Ms. Hayes, come on back. Catherine followed him, Patricia beside her. They entered an interview room, and there was Richard Sutton, sitting in the corner, smug smile on his face. Mr. Sutton insisted on being present, Detective Martinez said, since he's the complainant. Of course he did, Catherine said. She sat down, looked directly at Richard. Hello, Richard. Catherine, his smile widened. I'm sorry it came to this. I gave you a chance to take the settlement, to walk away quietly. You refused. He shrugged. So now we do this the hard way. Detective Martinez opened a folder. Ms. Hayes, Mr. Sutton has alleged that you embezzled approximately $200,000 from Global Tech Corporation over the past 3 years. That's a lie. I have documentation, Richard said. He pulled out his own folder, started spreading papers on the table, wire transfers, account numbers, all leading back to her. Catherine looked at the papers, felt her heart stop because they were real transfers, real account numbers, just not hers. Those aren't my accounts, she said. They have your name on them, Richard said. Then they're fraudulent. Catherine looked at Detective Martinez. Can I see those documents? He slid them across. She studied them. The account names looked like hers. Catherine Hayes, Catherine M. Hayes, C. Hayes Enterprises. But the account numbers were wrong. The banks were wrong.
The routing numbers didn't match anything she had. "These are fake," she said. "They're not fake," Richard insisted. "I pulled them myself from company records."
"You pulled them," Catherine repeated. "Or you created them." Richard's smile faltered, just slightly. Detective Martinez was watching him now. "Mr. Sutton, how did you obtain these documents? I have a contact at Global Tech, someone in accounting who's concerned about financial irregularities. Who? I can't reveal my source." "Actually, you can," Detective Martinez said. "This is a criminal investigation. If you have evidence of embezzlement, I need to know where it came from." Richard shifted in his seat. "I promised anonymity, and I'm promising you obstruction charges if you don't cooperate." Catherine watched Richard's face, saw the calculation, the fear creeping in. "Fine," Richard said. "It was an external audit I commissioned."
"You commissioned an audit of a company you don't work for. I'm a potential investor. I was doing due diligence." "Really?" Marcus's voice came from the doorway.
"Because I'm the CEO of Global Tech, and we've never discussed investment with you." Richard turned, went pale. Marcus walked in, sat down next to Catherine. "Detective Martinez, I'd like to present our findings from last night." He opened his own folder, much thicker than Richard's. "We did a complete audit of Ms. Hayes' accounts. Every penny she's earned in 22 years is accounted for. Every transaction is legitimate. There is no evidence of embezzlement. But these documents," Richard started. "Are forgeries," Marcus interrupted. "We verified with the banks listed. None of these accounts exist. The routing numbers are fake. The signatures are forged." Richard's face was red now. "That's impossible. But here's what's interesting," Marcus continued. "While we were auditing Ms. Hayes' accounts, we found something else. Real embezzlement. Real wire transfers. Real theft." He pulled out another set of documents. "Over the past 2 years, someone has been siphoning money from Global Tech. Small amounts. 5,000 here, 10,000 there. It adds up to approximately
$375,000. Detective Martinez leaned forward. "And you know who?" "We do." Marcus slid a document across the table. "The transfers all originated from an account belonging to Sutton Holdings, LLC, Richard Sutton's company." The room went silent. Catherine watched Richard's face, watched the color drain, watched the realization hit. I didn't." Richard stood up. "This is absurd. Why would I embezzle from a company I don't even work for?" "Because you had access," Marcus said. 2 years ago, we hired Sutton Holdings to consult on a real estate acquisition. You were given temporary access to our financial systems, and apparently you never deleted your credentials. That doesn't prove. We have the transfer records, the IP addresses. Everything traces back to you."
Marcus looked at Detective Martinez. "We're pressing charges." Richard turned to Catherine. His face was twisted with rage. "You did this. You set me up." "I didn't do anything," Catherine said calmly. "You set yourself up. This is revenge, because of what happened at dinner." "No," Catherine said. "This is consequences. You came after me for something I didn't do, and in the process, you exposed what you actually did." Richard lunged across the table. Detective Martinez grabbed him, pushed him back into his seat. "Mr. Sutton, you need to calm down. She's lying. She's manipulating everything." Actually, Patricia spoke for the first time. "My client has done nothing but tell the truth. You, on the other hand, have filed false police reports, forged your documents, and apparently embezzled nearly $400,000. So I'd suggest you call your lawyer. You're going to need one." Detective Martinez stood. "Mr. Sutton, you're under arrest for embezzlement and filing a false report." "What, no? You can't." "Turn around. Hands behind your back." Richard looked at Catherine, pure hatred in his eyes. "This isn't over." "Yes, it is," Catherine said. "It's very over." They led him out in handcuffs. Catherine sat there, shaking slightly. Marcus put his hand on her shoulder. "You okay?" "I will be." Patricia was already on her phone. "I'm going to file a restraining order against both Richard and Victoria. This has gone too far." Catherine nodded, couldn't speak. They walked out of the station, into the bright morning sunlight. Catherine's phone rang immediately. "Daniel."
Mom, are you okay? I heard they arrested someone at the station. They arrested Richard for embezzlement. Silence on the other end. He what? He's been stealing from Global Tech for 2 years. They found evidence this morning. Oh my God. Does Jessica know? Not yet. She's about to. I'm bringing her over. Right now. 20 minutes later, they were all in Catherine's apartment again. Jessica was pacing. Back and forth. Back and forth. My father is a thief. My father is actually a criminal. Yes, Catherine said gently. And my mother knew. She had to know. Jessica stopped. Looked at Catherine. How did you know? How did you figure it out? I didn't. Richard exposed himself by coming after me. If he'd just left it alone after the dinner, no one would have looked at his finances. But he got desperate, made threats, filed false reports, and that triggered an investigation. So this is his fault? Yes. Jessica sat down, buried her face in her hands. What's going to happen to him? Prison probably, Patricia said. Federal embezzlement charges, plus fraud. He's looking at 5 to 10 years. Jessica made a sound, half sob, half laugh. My father, in prison. Daniel sat next to her, pulled her close. I'm sorry, Jess. Don't be. Jessica looked up. Her face was wet, but her eyes were clear. Don't be sorry. He did this. He chose this. Just like he chose to treat your mother like garbage. Just like he chose to threaten and harass and lie. But he's still your father. Is he? Jessica's voice was hard. Because a father is supposed to protect you, support you, love you. He's been trying to control me my entire life. That's not love. That's ownership. Catherine's phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her. Hello, you bitch. Victoria's voice was shrill, hysterical. You absolute bitch. They arrested my husband. They're saying he's a thief. This is your fault. No, Victoria. This is Richard's fault. He was trying to protect our family, trying to protect Jessica from you and your son. He was stealing money. That's not protection. That's crime. You set him up. You manipulated everything. I did nothing, Catherine interrupted. Richard made his choices. He filed false reports. He forged documents. He came after me because he couldn't handle being exposed as the shallow, cruel person he is. And now he's paying the price. I'll sue you. I'll sue Global Tech. You'll what? Catherine's voice went cold. Sue me for what? Wearing a dress you didn't like. Sue Global Tech for catching your husband stealing from them. Go ahead, Victoria. Spend your money on lawyers. You're going to need it when Richard's legal bills start coming in. Victoria was crying now. You destroyed our family. No, you destroyed your family when you decided people were only worth what they had in the bank. When you treated someone you thought was poor like garbage. When you raised a daughter to value money over character. Jessica is our daughter. Jessica is her own person, and she's chosen to be better than you. You should be proud, but you're not, because you don't understand what pride means. Catherine hung up, blocked the number, looked at Jessica, who was staring at her with wide eyes. You just told my mother off. I did. You told her she destroyed her own family. Because she did. Catherine sat down. Jessica, your parents had every opportunity to be kind, to be decent, to treat people with respect, and they chose not to. They chose cruelty. They chose judgment. They chose control. And now they're facing the consequences. But my mom didn't embezzle anything. No, but she enabled it. She benefited from it. She lived off money that wasn't earned honestly, and she never questioned where it came from. Jessica was quiet for a long moment. Then, I don't want to be like them. You're not, Daniel said. You proved that when you stood up to them. But what if I am? What if it's in my blood? What if... It's not about blood, Catherine interrupted. It's about choices. Every day you choose who you want to be. You can choose to be like them. Or you can choose to be different. It's entirely up to you. Jessica nodded slowly. I choose different. Good. They sat in silence for a while. Then Catherine's phone rang again. Marcus this time. Catherine, the FBI is involved now.
Turns out Richard wasn't just embezzling from us. He was stealing from his clients, too. Real estate deals where he pocketed their money. They're estimating total theft at over $2 million. Catherine closed her eyes. $2 million. He's going to prison for a long time, and they're seizing his assets, the properties, the cars, everything. Turns out most of it was bought with stolen money. So Victoria loses everything. Pretty much. They're going to have to sell whatever they can to pay restitution. After Catherine hung up, Jessica spoke. My parents are going to be poor. Yes. And homeless. Possibly. Good. Jessica's voice was firm. Clear. They spent decades looking down on people they thought had less than them.
Now they get to see what it's actually like. That's harsh, Daniel said. It's honest, Jessica corrected. And they taught me to value honesty, just not the kind of honesty they expected. 3 months passed. Richard was denied bail. Too much of a flight risk given his money was seized. Victoria moved into a one-bedroom apartment, sold her jewelry to pay for it. The family turned on them completely. No one wanted to be associated with criminals. Jessica got 17 apology calls from cousins and aunts and uncles who'd believed Victoria's lies. They'd all seen the news, all realized the truth. Jessica returned exactly 3 of those calls. The people who'd believed her from the start. Daniel and Jessica moved into Catherine's rental property, paid market rate every month. Never asked for special treatment. Jessica got a job, entry-level marketing position. Nothing glamorous, but she earned her own money for the first time in her life, and she loved it. One evening, Catherine invited them over for dinner. Simple meal, spaghetti, salad, garlic bread. They sat around her small kitchen table. This is nice, Jessica said. Peaceful. It is, Daniel agreed. They ate in comfortable silence for a while. Then Jessica spoke. Catherine, can I ask you something? Of course. Do you think my parents will ever change? Catherine set down her fork. Thought about it carefully. I don't know. Change requires recognizing you were wrong. And from what I've seen, Victoria's blaming everyone but herself. Richard's probably doing the same. So probably not. Probably not. Jessica nodded, took a sip of water. I visited my mom last week. Both Catherine and Daniel looked at her. You did? Daniel asked. Yeah. She called and asked me to come. Said she wanted to apologize. Jessica paused. She didn't. What did she say? She said if I just stood by them, if I'd supported them, none of this would have happened. She blamed me for not defending them. Said I chose you over my own blood. How did you respond? I told her she was right. I did choose you because you earned it. And then I left. Catherine reached across the table, took Jessica's hand. That was brave. It hurt like hell. The right thing usually does. They finished dinner, cleaned up together, made coffee, sat in Catherine's living room. I heard Richard's trial date got set, Daniel said. September. Prosecution's offering a plea deal, Catherine added. 10 years if he admits to everything. Will he take it? I doubt it. Men like Richard don't admit defeat easily. So it goes to trial. Probably. And we might have to testify, Jessica said. About the dinner. About what happened. Yes. I'll do it, Jessica said firmly. I'll tell everyone exactly what they did. What I saw. What I should have stopped. You don't have to. I want to. Jessica looked at Catherine. You showed me who they really were. The least I can do is tell the truth about it. Catherine felt tears prick her eyes. Thank you. They talked until late, about work and life and the future. When Daniel and Jessica finally left, Catherine stood at her window, watched the city lights. Her phone buzzed one last time. Text from Daniel. Thank you, Mom, for everything, for being brave enough to show me the truth, for loving me enough to let me see it. I'm sorry it took so long for me to understand. Catherine typed back, You understand now. That's what matters. Love you, sweetheart. She set her phone down, looked around her modest apartment. Nothing had changed. Same furniture, same walls, same life. But everything felt different, lighter somehow. She'd lost nothing in this battle.
Richard and Victoria had lost everything trying to destroy her, and in their desperation, they destroyed themselves. There was poetry in that. Justice. Catherine made herself a cup of tea, sat by the window one last time, thought about the woman she'd been 3 months ago, the woman who'd walked into that restaurant in a wrinkled dress and worn out shoes. She'd gone in to test them, but she'd also tested herself, and she'd proven something important. That dignity didn't come from money, that worth wasn't measured by bank accounts, that character was built in moments when no one was watching and everything was hard. Her phone lit up one more time. An email from Marcus. Subject: board meeting update. She opened it. Catherine, the board met today. In light of recent events and your exemplary handling of a difficult situation, they voted unanimously to promote you to Executive Vice President with a seat on the board. Congratulations. You've earned it. Catherine read it twice, then set her phone down, smiled, because she hadn't done any of this for a promotion, hadn't fought back for recognition, hadn't exposed the Suttons for career advancement. She'd done it for principle, for truth, for the simple radical idea that people deserved respect regardless of what they owned. And if that came with a promotion, well, that was just proof that doing the right thing eventually pays off. Not always immediately, not always obviously, but eventually. She finished her tea, went to bed, and for the first time in months she slept deeply, peacefully, because she'd fought the battle that mattered, not for money, not for status, not for revenge, but for something far more valuable: her dignity, her truth, her refusal to be diminished by people who only saw worth in dollar signs. And in the end, that was the only victory that mattered. The Suttons had lost their money, their reputation, their family, their freedom. But Catherine had lost nothing, because you can't lose what you never needed to prove in the first place. And that was the difference between them. The difference that would always matter. The difference that money could never buy.